Tom Rice is a multimedia artist working in drawing, painting, video, and performance art. He's been showcased all over the country and works with students at Kalamazoo College when he's not creating. Let's hear about his art.
All right, it's time to talk about your art. We're surrounded in a beautiful studio. What's your art, Tom?
Well, these pieces are on what people often call visqueen or plastic drop cloth material that you can buy at a hardware store. And they're done with sumi ink.
With what?
Sumi ink.
Okay, let's expand that to a layperson.
Sumi ink is just Chinese calligraphy ink.
All right, Tom, I'm ready to have you take us through the process of your work.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, typically I start with a photograph. The pieces will evolve away from that photograph, but I typically have a photograph on an iPad, and so I'll start with that.
I just saw your security number. Do that again, just joking.
The brushes I use are a variety of brushes. They're not particularly fancy. A large brush, typically used, these are typically used with sumi ink, but I use all kinds of different brushes, but they're not, it's nothing very technical.
Depends on what needs detailed. And
it depends on what size of area I'm working with. So for what I have there now in the drawing is just one layer pretty much, and I've used this brush for the whole thing. And what I will do then is I'll put a light layer across all of the drawing, laying in, kind of blocking in imagery, and then I'll work from there. I'll go darker.
And here you have your layer.
I have the layer, the first layer on this drawing. Now I'm not sure what I'm going to do everywhere, so here down at the bottom I've left it open. I might put text down there. I may add some other imagery down there. I'm not sure. So this is just where it starts. So this is just a sort of one day of activity, work, a day's worth of work.
What do you want to add to it today?
Sure.
What's your mission? I see some writing. I see some nature. What's going on?
Well, these are all pieces that have to do with the environment. They're environmental statements. And so the work, this piece behind me right here, is part of a body of work called Monuments to the Ephemeral. And they represent geological features that are disappearing because of climate change. So in this case, with this piece right here, that's called the Great Glacier. And then it's actually doesn't exist anymore. And so the piece is a representation, it's a monument to a geological feature that doesn't exist anymore. And many of the pieces have water in them because water is typically associated with climate change. A lot of either we don't have it, or you have too much of it, or it's in ice form, it's disappearing, all that kind of thing.
So I'm ready to have you add to what's already been done.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have to get the value that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be working in this area right here, and just making that area darker, essentially. Okay, so I have to figure out what the value that's going to be. I don't want it to be completely black yet because I want to work from light to dark.
Yes.
And so I work gradually, typically. So I want to see what this is.
So you literally pour your paint?
Sometimes I'll do it.
Should I say?
Yeah, this is watered down, so
yeah.
I'm not even sure what this value is. So what I'm going to do is check. And I always have to have
take your picture
paper towel there in case it starts dripping.
Oh.
And my guess is that's not dark enough. Well, it's pretty good. But I'll probably want it to be a little darker.
You can't really make a mistake, can you?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I can wipe this stuff off. So that's probably not as dark as I want it, so I'm going to come back over here.
And re-dip?
Well, what I'm going to do is make a little bit darker value and just by pouring it into this.
And using, choosing that as your brush, right?
Right.
That's what you've
So,
done.
yeah, and the reason I'm using this brush right now is because of the size of the area I'm going to be working. And I do typically move up and down because I like to see the work from a distance every time that I make a change to it. So at this point,
And you didn't have to use a pencil to do an outline.
no, I work pretty much with shape.
Nice. You work
And
to music or anything? Or
I
you-
don't. I
okay, you
typically,
just
that's
think
something
about life.
I'm a little different than a lot of artists. They typically work with music, but I always say I like to make art when I'm making art,
Yeah.
and I listen to music when I'm listening to music. So
Yes, yes.
I typically don't listen to music. In fact, a lot of times my studio mate will come in and not know I'm here because the drawings are hanging and I'm quiet. So, yeah.
And there's verbiage.
Mm-hmm.
How does that come into play?
And the monuments to the ephemeral pieces, they're all love letters that I've written. So in this piece back here, this is about the great glacier that's no longer in existence. This one's actually a love letter to my son, who is going off to college. So there's often in these monuments to the ephemeral pieces, there's not a direct connection of the text to the image, but they're both about ephemeral issues, about love and the environment. They both need stewardship to care for them, and so that's how they relate.
Are these sensitive? Will they tear easily?
Yeah, I mean, they're fragile, but they're meant to be fragile. The environment is fragile, and so these are representations of the environment and our effect on the environment. So they move when you walk by them. That's meant to sort of demonstrate the impact of our bodies on the environment. If you rub up against them with any kind of aggression, they'll smear off or wipe off, and they can tear easily as well.
Take me through the process of what value means.
So value in drawing and painting is the darkness and lightness of a tone. So this is a fairly dark value, and that's a very light value. And these pieces, when they're hung out in the space, will become much lighter in value than they look on the wall. So the piece that's in back of us there is very dark, and it will look much lighter when it's hung out in the space. So when they're against the wall, they look dark. So this is a light value. That's the lightest value I'm going to get because there's no ink there, and this is the darkest value that's here right now. But it might go darker.
All right. Looks like you've got work to do.
That's right. Yeah, it'll be a while.
Support for Kalamazoo Lively Arts is provided by the Irving S. Gilmore Foundation, helping to build and enrich the cultural life of Greater Kalamazoo.